Have you ever wondered what architects shape the corridors of a dream? Why forgotten faces appear in rooms that never were? Tonight we begin a gentle walk through that hidden palace. We'll trace the slow release of melatonin. Follow the first yawn as it melts your muscles, and wander into the soft, grey borderland scientists call N1. Their flickers of color rise behind closed lids. The same tiny storms that a 2024 Oxford study captured with ultra-fast MRI, revealing lightning-bright bursts of memory before sleep truly begins. We'll drift onward, through deep waves, through REM's luminous theaters, past ancient myths and modern labs, until we understand why your mind must build these nightly worlds. But for now, just breathe. Let the bed cradle your weight. If you feel comfort in these hushed explorations, a gentle tap on subscribe helps other sleepless souls find their way here. Leave a comment with your city and time. I love seeing our quiet constellation of listeners. Close your eyes. Listen. The blueprint of a dream is unfolding. Night deepens. Streetlights fade to amber, then to hush. Behind your eyelids, a faint warmth flickers, as though someone has dimmed a lamp inside your skull. You feel the first yawn unfold. It is slow, deliberate, a flower of breath opening in the quiet garden of your mouth. Jaw stretches, tongue curves, air sweeps down your throat, cool as lake water before dawn. What began that gentle surge of fatigue? Why do lids suddenly weigh more than stone? High in your brain, tucked just above the crossing of your optic nerves, a cluster of 30,000 cells keeps celestial time. Scientists call it the suprachiasmatic nucleus, a name longer than the moment it measures. From birth, this clock listens for light. When evening falls, it whispers downstream commands, urging the pineal gland to pour a dark sweet chemical into your bloodstream. That messenger is melatonin. Some call it the night hormone. I like to think of it as liquid twilight. Melatonin drifts through your vessels, binding gently to receptors in the cortex, hippocampus, and amygdala. Each bond is a hush, a soft hand placed over a restless thought. Your core temperature slips by half a degree. Blood shifts inward, surrendering heat to the sheets. This cooling is nature's lullaby. Across the globe, labs glow with red-filtered lamps, protecting test subjects from blue light that could reset the clock. In 2025, researchers at Nagoya confirmed that even a pulse of blue lasting 2 seconds could delay melatonin release by 15 full minutes. Such is the fragility of night's architecture. One flash can steal a dream before it forms. Have you noticed the hush that follows a long yawn? It is not silence. It is a widening of inner space. Thoughts slow to single syllables. Memories drift like feathers, no longer tethered to time. Outside, cicadas click in low chorus. Inside, tiny muscles around your pupils loosen. Your eyes roam behind closed lids, taste-testing fragments of color, texture, memory. This is the hypnagogic gate, a threshold thin as silk. Step too quickly and you wake. Wait and you will fall. A distant heartbeat echoes in your ears. It is your own, but softer, as though heard from the far end of a tunnel. Breath deepens. Diaphragm rises, and sinks in tidal rhythm. Your body rehearses the night voyage ahead. Somewhere between inhale and exhale, another yawn ripples through muscle and bone. The act seems trivial, yet MRI studies reveal a spreading wave of cortical cooling, a slow sink of frontal lobe activity. Each yawn is a lever, lowering consciousness toward the subcellular where dreams are stored. Circadian clocks do not tick in isolation. They tune themselves to meals, movement, voices, even emotion. Miss a sunset, and the body keeps searching for it. Chase screens past midnight, and dawn may find you adrift, anchored to no clear hour. But tonight, you honor darkness. You let pixels rest. You listen to the hush between heartbeats. Feel the mattress cradle your spine. Notice how shoulders release, how hands uncurl like petals closing at dusk. Melatonin seeps deeper, painting everything a shade dimmer, cooler, kinder. Soon the gate will open. You will step through without sound. For now, linger in this corridor of half-wakefulness. The house of dreams is lighting its lanterns. Rooms are warming with quiet sparks of memory. Architects, tiny, tireless, shuffle blueprints beneath neuronal moonlight. They wait for your final breath of waking air. When it comes, let it go and drift. You drift. Walls of thought slide apart. A hush blooms behind your temples, wide and pale as first snow. Have you ever felt yourself falling, even while the mattress holds you fast? That sudden drop is not a flaw. It is the mind testing gravity one last time. Before surrender, tiny sparks swarm in the dark. Dots, stripes, fragments of faces. Your clothes. The eyes see more now than they did in daylight. Neurons in the visual cortex fire at random, projecting phantom lanterns onto an inner screen. Scientists call this hypnagogia, a threshold dream, half-born, half-remembered. In a 2025 study from the University of Geneva, researchers slipped volunteers into this limbo, then asked them to press a button. Each time a shape appeared, even without real light. Their brains painted spirals, oceans, cities of glass. The team mapped those flashes and found a chorus of regions singing together. Vision, emotion, memory, like instruments tuning before the concert of sleep. A slow warmth climbs your calves, hips, chest, throat, switching one muscle group after another to idle. Shoulders sink a centimeter deeper. Hands forget the idea of grasping. Breath softens until it feels borrowed, as though the room itself inhales for you. Suddenly, jerk. Your leg kicks, your heart flutters, and a pulse of adrenaline rolls through your ribs. This myoclonic startle is older than language. Long ago, when our ancestors slept in trees, a slipping foot could mean a fatal plunge. The brain still runs that safety check, even here beneath a concrete roof. Colors surge again. Now they gather into fleeting tableaus. A hallway slit with golden light. A river bending around moonlit stones. The face of a stranger who smiles and dissolves before you greet them. Why does the mind rehearse such scenes? Some researchers believe these fragments are memory shards, filed during daylight and now shuffled for storage. Others argue they are tests of the sensory grid, trial runs for dream worlds yet to form. Whatever the purpose, the effect is gentle astonishment. Like watching clouds invent animals at dusk. The border between waking and sleep is not a hard fence but a marsh. Thoughts become reeds swaying in shallow water. Step too briskly and you splash awake. Move with patience, and the reeds part in silence. Listen to your pulse settling. Notice how the hiss of passing traffic fades into something softer. Perhaps rain on distant leaves. Perhaps nothing at all. External sound is still there, but the thalamus, gatekeeper of sensation, has begun to dim the dials, preferring whispers to clamor. Behind the scenes, astrocytes sweep extracellular spaces, clearing metabolic clutter, preparing neural floors for deep-wave cleaning. The housekeeping will intensify later. Yet even now the air inside your skull feels freshly dusted. Another image flares. A staircase suspended in blue mist. You step onto the first stair, and gravity changes, pulling you forward like a slow tide. Each blinkless moment elongates, stretches, thins, breaks, until time itself seems fluid. A river you can swim both upstream and down. Let the staircase fade. Let the mist become dark velvet. You are not lost. You are being guided inwards, to rooms locked since dawn. Breath flows in, flows out, like a tide polishing glass. With every exhale, the waking world drifts a little farther away. A coastline dimming under night clouds. Settle into the hush. The gate is open now. Cross without haste, and sleep will meet you. On the other side, a deeper hush settles. As the gate closes behind you, the floor of consciousness tilts downward, guiding you toward the quiet river of slow-wave sleep. Feel how each limb grows deliberate, heavy as driftwood soaked in moonlit water. Fingers loosen, elbows unlock. Your body, once a vigilant fortress, becomes a quiet harbor where every guard sets down their spear. Why must muscles surrender before the mind can roam? Why does true rest require the release of every hidden tension? Inside the brainstem, the reticular formation lowers its lanterns, dimming the wakeful chatter that buzzes along your spine. Neurons that once piped urgency now hum a single, low note. A drone that lulls motor circuits into stillness. Electrodes would show your alpha rhythms dissolving, replaced by broad, unhurried delta waves. Peaks and valleys that rise, fall, and rise again, like swells on a calm sea. In 2024, a Copenhagen team placed ultrafine sensors along the outer membranes of cortical neurons. They found that during each delta crest, tiny pores opened, allowing cerebrospinal fluid to wash metabolic fragments away. It is as though the brain breathes out its clutter. With every slow surge of electrical tide, muscle tone now drops so low that your jaw hangs a fraction wider. Shoulders melt into the mattress, scapulae sliding apart like silent doors. Somewhere in that release, a library of body memories begins to stir. All day, your muscles recorded microtales. The weight of a coffee mug, The cadence of footsteps, the curve of a handwritten note. Now deep nuclei, basal ganglia, cerebellum. Review those patterns in darkness. Pruning the needless, polishing the useful. Researchers at MIT call this nocturnal rehearsal. Offline skill refi. Nemonte. Their 2025 study showed violinists improving bow stability after nothing more than a night of slow waves. Imagine rows of lanterns dimming in a hallway of mirrors. Reflections fade, but the mirrors remain, ready to glow again at dawn with cleaner glass. Breath continues its tidal rhythm, yet each exhale lengthens, lingering just a second longer than the last. Carbon dioxide rises, nudging chemoreceptors that whisper to brainstem pacemakers. Slow, slow. Outside your window, the world carries on. A distant motorcycle growls. Pipes click as water shifts in city walls. But through the thalamic gate these sounds arrive muffled. Their sharp edges rounded by synaptic velvet. Weight spreads from spine to mattress in widening circles, as if gravity itself has thickened, becoming something you can almost feel between skin and sheet. You are not falling anymore. You are settling. The way silt gathers at the quiet bend of a river, layer upon silent layer, until the water above grows clear. Somewhere beneath ribs and diaphragm, the vagus nerve threads a silver path from heart to brain. It slows the rhythm of each beat, knitting parasympathetic calm into every chamber. In that soft deceleration, the day's anxieties grow distant, like lanterns lost in fog. Do you notice the warmth behind your sternum? That is acetylcholine ebbing, calming once firing circuits of intention. Plans, regrets, errands, all loosen their grip, drifting like papers left on an open desk when a window is raised. Let your awareness recline against the back wall of thought. Feel the whole organism, 40 trillion cells, align into a single, hushed chord. No need to move, no command to heed. In the architecture of a dream, this is the silent atrium, where currents slow, and marble stairs descend toward deeper chambers still. Stay as long as you wish. Slow waves will keep sweeping the halls, sweeping, sweeping, until every bright fragment of waking life finds its quiet place in the dark. Down, down you slip, into a quiet archipelago of thought. Islands of brain tissue, once wired together in daylight, begin to float apart, surrounded by a gentle sea of silence. The thalamus goes first. All day it served as grand station master, routing every sight, sound, and fingertip spark to the lofty cities of cortex. Now its gates drift half-closed. Only a few trusted signals pass. The rest wait outside like travelers at dusk. Bags set down, voices hushed. Why must the relay dim before dreams ignite? Researchers at Stockholm's Karolinska Institute, using high-density EEG in 2025, saw thalamic nuclei slip into a pulsing rhythm. 12 hertz, gentle as lapping water. Those pulses, called sleep spindles, shield the cortex from sudden noise, letting deeper architectures rearrange in peace. Beyond the thalamus, the hippocampus starts to murmur. All day it gathered memories like photographs. Now it opens each one beneath starlight, deciding which to keep, which to let fade. Electrical bursts, sharp, bright ripples, shoot down hidden corridors. Echoes of lived minutes replayed in fast forward. In mouse studies from San Diego, blocking these ripples erased May's memories by morning. Here in your still body, they run unhindered, stitching today's moments into tomorrow's knowing. Cortex, vast and layered, eases out of conversation. Frontal lobes, those planners, judges, warriors, lay their ledgers aside. Parietal fields that tracked every limb position dissolve into warm geometry. Visual areas once flooded with sunlight and color dim to a softer palette, awaiting new paints mixed inside. As regions uncouple, blood flow reshapes its map. PET scans reveal a cool hush spreading across prefrontal hills, while temporal valleys glow just a little brighter. Like lanterns kept for storytelling, energy drifts where narrative will soon bloom. The emotional midbrain, the memory-laden hippocampus, the canvas of occipital night. Listen to what is missing. The inner critic that whispered should, must hurry, has fallen silent. Deadlines lose their edges. Regret loosens its knot. You dwell for a rare moment, in thought without judgment, a quiet reprieve built into every 24 hours. Some call this state local sleep, tiny neighborhoods of neurons rest, while distant quarters stay awake enough to keep breath measured, heart steady, like city blocks after a snowfall. Lights wink off one window at a time, until only a scattering of lamps remain. Feel the emptiness widen behind your forehead. It is not void, but fertile dark. In this spaciousness, ideas planted during the day send out first pale roots. You may not remember their germination, yet they will unfurl at dawn. As sudden insight, easy recall, steadier mood. Outside, a train rumbles in the old circuitry of your ears. Its thunder rises, yet the thalamic gate softens every sharp edge into something like distant zerv. Sound becomes lullaby rather than alarm. Breathe once more, slow and even. Notice how thought itself feels heavier, sinking toward the seabed of mind. Connections loosen just enough to allow new bridges to grow. Stay inside this drifting archipelago. The waters are calm. Islands pulse with hidden life. Soon, across the dark horizon of closed lids, tiny lights will flare. The first bright sketches of a dream about to begin. A soft turbulence ruffles the calm sea beneath your skull. The islands you drifted among begin to glow at their edges, as if dawn were rising from below instead of above. Something stirs behind your eyes, not the lazy roll of slow-wave currents, but a quick, bright twitch. Left, right, left again, testing horizons that do not exist in waking space. Have you felt that tiny flutter? The way lids tremble though they stay shut. Inside your midbrain, a volley of signals races from pons to thalamus to occipital lobe. Researchers call them PGO waves. pontine genicular occipital bursts, and in a 2025 Coltech study, ultrafast electrodes showed each burst sketching a stroke of imagery, milliseconds before the cortex sees it. Like sparks dancing across blueprint paper, they outline the first walls and windows of a dream. Muscle tone sinks even lower, dropping from softness to near silence. The spinal cord releases acetylcholine in measured pulses, wrapping every major muscle in a loose velvet cord. This is REM atonia, a gentle paralysis that keeps the body from enacting the mind's bright play. Thighs, shoulders, jaw, all held in benevolent stillness, while fingers twitch with echoes of movement that never leaves the brain. Heartbeat quickens, yet blood pressure stays oddly calm. A paradox scientists still puzzle over. In the dim glow of a 2024 Kyoto lab, subjects showed pulses rising 15 beats per minute, even as vascular tension eased. It is as though the heart rehearses a dance, whose music only neurons can hear. Now the scene inside your head brightens. Colors bloom, deep indigo, copper, gold, and assemble into places that never were. Maybe a shoreline beneath two moons. Maybe a childhood kitchen refitted with cathedral arches. Dreams borrow bricks from memory, but the mortar is pure invention. Listen to the soundscape building under the imagery. Footsteps on wet marble, wind through metal reeds, a voice you half recognize humming a song that never charted. Auditory cortex lights up almost as fiercely as if real waves reached your ears, proving that perception is not reception, but creation. The amygdala, seat of emotion, glows ruby in pet images during REM. Its heightened pulse explains why even gentle dreams feel vivid, why a whispered name can drench the soul in longing, why a tilt of light can summon joy sharp as grief. Meanwhile, the prefrontal judge dozes, letting impossible logic pass without objection. Notice how time bends. A single breath may hold a season. A dream that seems to sprawl across years will, upon waking, fit into 90 seconds of REM. Chronology loosens like knots soaked in warm water. Events overlap, reorder, repeat, and you accept the strangeness without protest. You might find yourself walking a street of floating lanterns. Each lantern bears a memory, a scent of winter oranges, the scrape of chalk on a childhood slate, laughter heard through a thin apartment wall. Touch one and the paper ignites in silent flame, not destroying the memory but releasing it, like incense curling into a ceilingless sky. Why do dreams stitch memory and fantasy together? One model, emotional memory consolidation, refined in a 2023 Munich meta-analysis, suggests REM links feelings to facts, ensuring tomorrow's choices carry yesterday's wisdom. Another, predictive coding, says the brain runs nighttime simulations, testing possibilities against the world it knows, so awake-time decisions land on steadier ground. Perhaps both are true. Perhaps neither captures the quiet thrill of wandering a world that flickers with your private constellations. The lantern street shifts. Cobblestones ripple like water. Lanterns rise, become fireflies, then stars embedded in a velvet river that bends overhead. You float upward, though gravity feels intact, proving that laws can change when no one is awake to enforce them. Deep below this spectacle, astrocytes still groom synapses, flushing away adenosine, clearing the biochemical slate. Every cell does its work, even while imagination runs riot. Like gardeners pruning roses at midnight, while a masquerade dances through the halls above. Eyes quiver faster. The dream crescendos. Colors peak to near neon, then fade toward dawn dust pastel. Syrian cotton, desert glass, winter plum. Emotion surges, joy, fear, wonder. But you remain a kindly spectator to your own private cinema. A sudden shift. You stand at the edge of a vast library carved from salt. Shelves curl like nautilus shells. Books hum when opened, pages breathing ocean wind. Some volumes hold today's memories, freshly shelved. Others whisper predictions, faces you will not mate for years, songs not yet written. You sense that turning too many pages could pull you further from waking lives. So you trace the spines without opening them, feeling the fine grit of salt under dream skin. Far outside, in the tangible room, eye muscles flick beneath lids, hands twitch, diaphragm keeps its careful rhythm. If someone filmed you now, they would see only stillness dotted with tiny shivers. Inside, universes bloom and fold between heartbeats. The library doors drift shut. Books fade into vapor. Neon dims to ember. REM is a cycle. A tidal swell of 30, 40 minutes this first round. Already the tide is easing, preparing to recede into quieter waters. Your pulse slows. PGO waves soften to faint ripples. Muscle tone rises just enough to take back a whisper of motion. Lids still closed. Eyes roll upward one last time, as though admiring stars we cannot see. The lantern street, the salt library, the twin moons, all fold like paper cranes, packed flat into the hippocampus, filed by emotion, tagged by context, stored for later recall or quiet forgetting. Maybe you will never think of them again. Maybe a scent tomorrow, old books, sea air, will unseal the memory, and you'll feel a pang of déjà vu, without knowing why. Breath deepens. Delta murmurs rise again in distant cortical bays. The bright carnival of REM yields to the slow drum of NREM. Mind and body trade watch duty, one sweeping the floors while the other tells stories, hour after hours, until morning. For now, let day fade farther. Let the bright fragments settle like snowflakes on still water. Trust the architects within. They know when to dim the lights, when to raise them again. Rest. Dreams will return soon. Each cycle brighter, longer, like moons waxing toward fullness. And you will drift untouched by worry, a silent traveler in rooms built of light, until the first pale sigh of dawn reaches softly through your window and bids the architects sleep in turn. A hush settles after the bright tide of REM. Yet behind closed doors, the mind begins its quiet carpentry, selecting beams and pigments for the next imagined world. Picture a vast storeroom lit by pulsing embers. Shelves hold scraps of today, Voices caught on stairwells. The rust-sweet smell of wet iron. A half-remembered billboard seen from a bus. Other shelves keep older heirlooms. A childhood ribbon, a face glimpsed in passing years ago. Colors whose names you never learned. How does the brain choose which fragment rises first? A 2025 Columbia study watched the default mode network shift into rhythmic synchrony moments before new dream scenes bloomed. It behaved like an orchestra's conductor tapping the podium, calling scattered instruments into shared tempo. The hippocampus offers raw footage. The amygdala grades each clip by emotional heat. The visual cortex becomes stage painter, spreading color across blank neuronal canvas. Meanwhile, the precuneus assembles space. Walls, horizons, the angle of a hallway. No single region lays forever. They pass the brush like artists in a round, each adding texture, light, or scent. Have you noticed how dreams reuse familiar rooms, then bend them into impossibility? That twist arrives from the parietal imagination circuits, places that map your body in space. When their signals wobble, gravity tilts. Stairs coil into spirals that never meet the ground. Doors open onto sky. Researchers at Leiden recently coaxed sleepers into a lucid REM state with gentle temple vibrations. Inside the scan, lucid dreamers activated frontal control centers, long enough to redraw scenery at will, turning rain to snow, stone to silk, then let go, returning to passive drift. It proved the set can change hands mid-performance, sometimes guided, often free. Emotion decides lighting. Joy warms the palate, peach dawn, gold dust. Fear cools it to pewter fog. Even neutral memories receive a faint tint, as if every recollection were dipped in mood. Before reaching consciousness, listen now to your own inner stagehands. They wheel in a forest that smells of cedar and ocean salt. Branches glow with impossible lanterns. Footsteps leave no mark on moss, yet each step makes a low chime, like glass bells in far wind. None of these details belong together in waking logic, but the limbic editor values resonance over reason. If two fragments share shape or feeling, they fuse without judgment, forming a seamless fresco across your inner sky. Somewhere beyond thought, astrocytes ferry glycogen to hungry synapses, fuel for this midnight artistry. Blood flow shifts again, a quicksilver surge to temporal lobes, a cooling hush over frontal critique. Critics sleep so creators may roam. Notice how time loosens once more. The forest stretches, contracts, loops. You might exit a clearing only to arrive back through the same archway. Yet the mind accepts the circle as natural, preferring continuity of mood to geometry of maps. In this gentle workshop, the blueprint of the upcoming cycle is quietly drafted. Scenes half-built drift to one side, awaiting the next REM swell for color and motion. Fragments judged unfit settle like silt, ready to be washed away by deep, slow waves. Breathe. Feel the weight of sheets, the hush of room. Beyond cotton and skin, your architects still trade whispered plans, selecting aromas, melodies, shards of memory. To weave into the next world, you will wander. Soon a new tide of REM will rise. And when it does, The sets will stand ready, lanterns lit, corridors swept, inviting you to step through and lose yourself again. In rooms only midnight knows, memory drifts like mist across the dark stage. Moments from today glide forward, each carrying the faint glow of feeling. A cracked teacup, laughter echoing off subway tiles, the scent of rain before it fell. Not every moment is granted entrance. The hippocampus, keeper of the day's ledger, weighs each fragment by its pulse of emotion, its novelty, its usefulness for the road ahead. Why do some memories fade before night ends, while others linger a lifetime? Sharp-wave ripples flash through hippocampal cells, tiny thunderclaps only neurons can hear. With every ripple, a memory is replayed, sped up, compressed, sent toward the cortex, like a message in luminous code. If the cortex accepts, synapses strengthen along that path, and the memory settles into long-term stone. If the ripple meets no echo, the fragment dissolves, becoming part of the ocean of forgetting. In 2024, scientists in Lion played faint scents, rose then mint, to sleepers who had studied paired images. When the sleeping brain smelled rose, memories linked to that scent replayed, and recall improved at dawn. Targeted memory reactivation, they called it. Proof that gentle cues can guide the archive. Listen to your own archive now. Somewhere behind your brow, rows of spiral staircases unwind, leading to galleries hung with today's scenes. Curators, tiny glial caretakers, dust each frame, decide its place, or carry it to doors that open onto dark water. Forgetting is not loss. It is space-making. Without cleared shelves, tomorrow's moments would pile into clutter, blurring thought, dulling wonder. Feel a fragment settle, perhaps the rhythm of footsteps on evening pavement. The ripple carries it upward, threads it into cortical fabric near motor maps. A quiet promise that, come morning, your stride will feel more certain. Another ripple lifts the warmth of a friend's voice. Emotion tags it bright amber. Cortex welcomes it to temporal halls, where names and faces glow. You might dream of that friend tonight, not as a message, but as the brain weaving connection into story cloth. Across the hall, a dull memory, scrolling headlines you did not need, receives no amber, no novelty. It drifts to the forgetting doors, parts like mist, leaving room for softer things. Have you wondered why painful memories persist, while neutral ones fade? The amygdala's crimson lantern keeps vigil, alert to risk, petitioning the cortex. Remember, so we need not suffer twice. Yet even pain dulls with each replay, edges softened by time and sleep, until the lesson remains, but the sting lies quiet. Blood flow shifts again, feeding networks that map identity, the autobiographical circuits where I resides. There, memories align like stars into constellations, shaping the silent story you believe about yourself. Tonight's edits may seem minor, but years of nights will redraw the sky. Breathe. Feel the hush between ripples. That silence is fertile. Within it, new synapses sprout filaments, Searching for partners, wiring tomorrow's insights you have yet to imagine. Outside, a distant car door thuds. Sleep spindles rise to shield the archive, wrapping cortex in silken loops of rhythm. Sound becomes echo. Echo becomes hush. The galleries dim. Curators retire. Sharpwave ripples slow their dance. Memories nestle into place, ready to greet dawn with gentle familiarity. Stay in this quiet wing of night. Let forgetting and remembering braid together, making room, making meanings. Soon the architects will draw new scenes, and you will wander corridors built from the freshest threads of who you are becoming. Shadows pool in corners the curators never reach. Here lie the unfinished rooms. Spaces half-drawn, doors without hinges, staircases that end in hush. These are the fragments the mind postponed during daylight. An unanswered message. A glance that felt like judgment. A childhood worry still folded under newer fears. Have you walked these rooms in dreams? Walls ripple like water. Floors tilt, then steady then. Tilt again. Nothing fully solid, nothing fully void. The architecture mimics uncertainty itself. Deep in the limbic midbrain, the bed nucleus of the stria terminalis hums at a lower pitch than the amygdala. It tracks diffuse unease, the kind without sharp edges or obvious source. During REM prep, its activity slips into the same rhythm as hippocampal ripples, binding vague feelings to the flicker of pending memories. Neuroscientists at Freiburg, publishing in early 2025, showed this coupling predicts whether a sleeper will later recall a strange, unfinished dream scene. Listen. A hallway stretches before you. Wallpaper peels in slow curls, revealing a second pattern beneath, ferns overlaid on sea charts. You touch the paper and it turns to ash without heat. Somewhere in waking life, an idea unfinished still waits for voice. Here, the brain stages a rehearsal where you may touch it safely. Decide if it stays or drifts away. In one alcove stands a clock with no hands. Temporal parietal junction cells flicker, trying to assign sequence, but without input from frontal planners. The order of moments unravels like loose thread. You feel time as texture, not measure. Thick where worry clings, thin where curiosity flows. A window appears. Beyond it, night sky, yet suns rise and set in quick murmurs, as if the cosmos were breathing. Visual cortex sketches celestial motion from scraps of telescope images. Childhood planetarium shows. Recent news of an exoplanet discovered in 2024 orbiting two suns. Reality and rumor blend to soothe the question. What else waits unfinished beyond what I know? Footsteps echo, though you stand alone. The sound springs from primary auditory areas, fed by stored footfalls on library floors, museum tiles, hospital corridors. Each echo, a reminder of journeys deferred. You turn a corner. A door glows faintly blue. Its knob is cool, smooth, heavy with possibility. Behind it might live an old fear. An exam never taken, a goodbye never said. Or nothing at all. Dreams let you test the handle without consequence. Sometimes you enter, sometimes you wake. Scientists call this threat rehearsal or fear extinction. In 2023, a Toronto study used VR nightmares to show That sleepers who faced symbolic danger within dreams woke calmer, heart rate steadier, cortisol lower at breakfast. The unfinished rooms practice endings, so daylight need not. Across the ceiling, hairline cracks glow gold. They widen, spilling quiet light that feels like forgiveness. Glial cells release lactate, nurturing overworked neurons, while microglia prune synapses tied to stale anxiety. Repair is literal, not just poetic. You breathe out. The hallway narrows, walls smoothing to seamless dusk. Footsteps fade. The door stays closed this time, and that is fine. Even unopened, it weighs less now. Feel your pulse settle. The unfinished rooms will not vanish tonight, but their edges blur, losing power to startle. Some will populate future dreams, gentler each visit, until only faint outlines remain. Memories of worries once sharp, now softened into patterns on distant walls. Let the hallway melt into darkness. Let darkness fold into deeper sleep. The architects adjust their plans, carrying what matters into the next design, leaving the rest to dissolve with the tide of forgetting. Silence stretches, then folds back on itself like silk. In this wing of the dream house, time no longer walks in straight corridors. It curls, doubles, pauses, as though each second were a breath that can be held, released, or rewound. Have you felt a single blink contain an hour, or a mile-long road vanish in the span of one footstep? Neuroscientists call the mechanism chronostasis, a reset of temporal markers when attention shifts. During REM, attention itself is fluid, so resets ripple across perception, like circles spreading on still water. A 2025 MIT study placed lucid dreamers in scanners and asked them to count 10 dream seconds, raising a finger inside the image every time they reached the number. Most fingers rose after 20 real seconds. Their inner clocks slowed by half, even while cortical beta rhythms ticked at waking speed. The researchers likened it to watching a slow-motion film projected by a normal speed reel. Here in your own quiet theater, notice how narrative fragments drift out of order. You stand beneath autumn leaves. Then suddenly, you fold the same leaves into paper boats. Moments before they fall. Cause and effect separate. Yet the emotion, gentle wonder, flows unbroken, binding scenes through feeling, not sequence. The precuneus and posterior singulate, hubs of the default mode network, light in softly pulsed harmony during these temporal slips. They weave a sense of self that survives the warp, whispering this is still you, even when yesterday meets tomorrow in one breath. Visual cortex layers shuffle frames like cards. Testing WH. IC order feels smoothest. Auditory areas stretch syllables or crush them into sparks, turning speech into river tones that carry meaning. Without grammar, why does the dreaming mind bend time? One theory, predictive efficiency, proposes that replaying events out of order helps the cortex search for hidden patterns faster than linear review would allow. Another, emotional integration, says feelings bloom slowly, so the scene expands or contracts until the emotion reaches fullness. Perhaps both are true. Feel the stretch now. A bell rings in a distant tower, its echo lingering so long that the next toll merges with the last, creating a continuous hum that fills the sky. Under that hum, your pulse steadies, breath glides, as if body and dream share one slow metronome. In the gloom overhead, stars flare and extinguish within heartbeats, cosmic epochs compressed into soft sparks. The thalamus, easing its filter, lets fragments of ambient rooms sound. Seed those stellar flashes. A radiator hiss becomes solar wind. Distant traffic becomes meteors. Watch a shooting star freeze mid-arc, then drift backward, trailing silver that gathers like mist around your ankles. You step and the ground ripples outward, as though time itself were pond water, disturbed by your passing. Your body lies motionless, yet cerebellar circuits for balance map every tilt, allowing impossible motion without vertigo. Laboratory recordings show bursts of cerebellar gamma. Each time dream gravity shifts, proof that coordination is rehearsed, even when physics is play. Now a door appears, its hinges undone, swinging both forward and back at once. You cross the threshold and find yourself already inside, meeting your own arrival like a gentle echo. There is no surprise, only a spacious calm, as if the mind was showing that beginnings and endings can be neighbors. When urgency sleeps, listen to the ticking that is not a clock. Vascular pulses in the ear canal, joined to faint cerebrospinal waves. They mark real time, yet dream time drapes over them like silk, shaping each beat into a tapestry of stretched moments. Breathe. Let seconds lengthen. Let minutes fold. Let memories perch out of order, like birds on winding branches. When the next REM tide rises, the architects will gather these loosened threads, weaving them back toward narrative, preparing corridors where cause meets effect once more. Until then, float in this softened chronology, where nothing is late, nothing too soon, and every heartbeat is exactly long enough to cradle a universe. A hush drapes the corridors, the hush of words unspoken, letters waiting on the tip of thought. Have you noticed how speech becomes water in dreams, flowing into shapes you feel more than hear? Brokers' engines, so fierce by day, idle now at a lazy rumble. Wernick's halls glow with soft candlelight, decoding not grammar but emotion, letting meaning drift beyond syntax. White matter tracts that ferry syllables, slow their traffic, yet association fibers, those quiet side roads, glimmer with activity, linking image to idea, scent to memory, feeling to wordless knowing. In early 2025, researchers at Cambridge threaded microelectrodes through temporal gyri of lucid dreamers. They found bursts of high gamma waves, just as dreamers mouthed silent dialogue, proof that inner speech survives, but slips free of the tongue. Listen to your own inner courtyard. Stone tiles ripple into ink. Glyphs rise, swirl, dissolve, reforming as pictures. A feather turning into the word lightness. The scent of citrus blooming into a distant summer noon. Symbols gather like starlings, dark specks twisting into new constellations. None obey dictionary order. They flutter by resonance. Sound echoes color. Touch echoes memory. And every echo tugs you deeper. The angular gyrus, crossroads of language, number, space, shifts gears, moving from calculation to metaphor. It paints bridges between unlike things. Your mother's laugh becomes a warm quilt. Last night's headline turns to rusted keys, unlocking doors that never were. Why such lavish substitution? One theory, semantic compression, says the brain packs dense meaning into symbols to save cognitive space. Dreaming then unpacks the bundle, testing each layer for relevance. Another, emotional buffering, argues symbols soften sharp memories, wrapping them in metaphor, so you may hold them without hurt. Either way, the work is gentle, wrapped in velvet quiet. Feel a phrase hover on your dream tongue, perhaps a lullaby in a language you never learned. Phonemes shift like tides, fusing, splitting, recoiling, until the melody speaks directly to the chest, bypassing ear and mind. A sudden hush falls. Letters made of light rain down, pooling into a mirror on the floor. You lean in. Your reflection is a collage. One eye drawn from childhood sketches, the other from tomorrow's hope. Lip stitched from poems half forgotten. Even identity speaks in symbols here, glimmering then fading like cool sparks. Outside the dream house, real air brushes your cheek, but somatosensory gates mute the touch, letting only a whisper through. That whisper becomes wind in dream trees, their leaves inscribed with tiny verses. You somehow understand without reading. Neurons tire, glial hands bring fresh glycogen. Blood flow shifts once more, cooling linguistic centers, warming visual coastlines where next scenes will break. Breathe. Notice how silence here feels articulate. A language of spaces between pulses, between gentle eye twitches. Soon the architects will gather these bright runes, press them into the walls of the next chamber, so that when scenery blooms again, words will ride hidden under every color, guiding you onward, through story without sound. Rest in this library of quiet speech. Let symbols drift like lanterns on black water, their meanings soft, slow, endless, carrying you deeper into night. Shadows shift from language into feeling, as though the walls themselves exhale. Have you noticed how every dream, no matter how strange, seems tuned precisely to the pulse beneath your ribs? Emotion is the quiet editor, trimming, coloring, deciding what survives the cut. Even a nameless street in moonlight feels unmistakably yours, because the amygdala lights each cobblestone with the hue of your private dusk. By day, that almond-shaped lantern flares at danger or delight. By night, its glow softens, no longer shouting flee or grasp, but brushing scenes with subtler tones. Warm amber of contentment, cool indigo of wistful longing. In late 2024, a Stanford team used depth electrodes to chart this nocturnal palette. They found the amygdala firing in rhythm, with medial prefrontal waves only during REM. a duet absent in waking hours. Each paired pulse predicted how vividly sleepers later recalled. Joy, fear, or tenderness woven into their dreams. Feel that duet now. You step onto a shoreline sculpted from memories of evenings, when the sky felt infinitely kind. Colors you cannot name shimmer across tidal flats. Somewhere, a cello plays 3 notes that echo the weight of missing someone. The scene belongs to no calendar, yet your chest recognizes the exact shape of its ache. Why such precision? The theory of affective simulation suggests the dreaming brain rehearses feelings, so daytime choices can ride steadier currents. Another view, emotional housekeeping, argues that polished memories slide smoothly into storage, while raw ones return each night until sanded gentle. Notice how the editor rearranges plot for emotional clarity. An argument from yesterday might replay, but voices soften. Setting shifts to a room of golden lamplight, allowing regret to ease into understanding. Or a triumph repeats beneath higher, brighter ceilings, so pride may stretch its wings without startling awake. Beneath this craft, norepinephrine lies nearly silent, locus coeruleus off-duty, so feelings bloom without the jolt of fight or flight. It is safe here to cradle sorrow, to taste fragile hope, to let laughter ripple unrestrained. Tiny glints flicker in orbitofrontal corridors, weighing each emotion's worth, nudging some toward deeper embedding, guiding others to the gentle river of forgetting. You may wake unsurprised by old pain, or newly drawn to small delights, never sensing the night's quiet edits. A breeze moves through dream sky. It carries the scent of cedar and first snow. 2 memories never met until this breath. Your pulse answers with a sigh, recognizing a need you had not named. Outside, real air stirs curtains. Barometric pressure dips. Pressure receptors in skin send whispers to brainstem. And the editor steals the cue, adding distance, thunder far across dream water. Feel warmth spread beneath your sternum. A soft lantern lit by ventromedial circuits. Each time gratitude crosses the threshold, that glow stitches new synapses, binding kindness to recollection, so dawn may find you gentler than before. Let the shoreline fade. Let cello notes dissolve into the hush between heartbeats. Emotion has finished its quiet drafting. Files close, lanterns dim. Yet the newly woven moods drift onward, ready to color the next scene, ready to rise with you when morning loosens its pale veil. Breathe and rest in this hush of tempered feeling, a calm harbor where every wave knows your name. But none crash too loudly, none pull you from the deep. The hush deepens, yet somewhere behind your temple's tiny archivists wake, ready to stock the shelves of the coming dream. They sift through an endless card catalog, faces glimpsed on escalators, the bite of cold air outside the grocery door, a line of poetry half heard on a podcast. Nothing is too small. Each fragment waits like a syllable, hoping to join a sentence that means more than itself. Ray, searchers at Kyoto, late 2024, invited sleepers to whisper one word the instant they roused from REM. Algorithms mapped thousands of those midnight nouns. Street, water, child mirror, and found hidden constellations. Urban dreams surged after crowded commutes. Water rose when humidity spiked before rain. The study hinted that dream content is part weather vane, part diary, all filtered through the quiet grammar of mood. Feel that grammar unfolding now. A single image drifts forward. A weathered key resting on a velvet cushion. Your pulse offers a question, unlock what? And the scene begins to grow. Walls emerge, scented with cedar dust. Light slants through high windows, moats swirling like shoals of tiny fish. The hippocampus provides the room's rough blueprint, but the parahippocampal place area lays the stone. Each brick mortared with bits of real corridors you once walked. Notice how the room balances familiar and new. Too much novelty and you would jolt awake. Too much memory and the key would lose its mystery. So the architects thread a narrow path. Save strangeness, letting curiosity lure you deeper without breaking the spell. A 2025 study from Berlin used fMRI-compatible VR to tease that balance. They found the sweet spot occurs when a scene shares about 60% overlap with lived spaces, 40% pure invention. Brains in that range showed calm heart rates, stable breathing, and vivid recall at dawn. Your scene hovers in that golden ratio. You lift the key. Its metal cool, edges dulled by years, and sound shivers through the wooden air. Auditory cortex borrows the tone from a memory of coins dropped in a fountain, adding faint echoes to deepen wonder. What will the key open? The question itself is scaffolding. The dorsolateral prefrontal lobe dozes, so logical puzzles drift unguarded, letting limbic imagination paint doorways unrestrained. Perhaps a cabinet appears, lacquered midnight blue. Perhaps a garden gate woven of reeds and night-blooming jasmine. Whatever rises will fit the shape of your quietest wanting, because the orbitofrontal evaluator nudges choices toward what calms the heart. Underneath, astrocytes shuttle lactate, fuel for neurons spinning silk from memory. Synapses that fire together now will wire together by morning, quietly tilting tomorrow's perceptions toward keys, cabinets, gardens, toward patient unlocking. Listen. Somewhere a distant chime rings twice, the leftover resonance of a train far outside your window. Thalamic gates let a softened copy seep through, and the architects catch it, hanging the chime in the imagined hall. A sound to guide you forward when the door appears. Breathe. Feel the key's weight grow lighter, as if inviting motion. Doors may swing wide soon, or the scene may fade, placing the key back on its cushion for another night. Either way, the archivists keep note. Key tagged with curiosity, calm silver blue. If needed, they'll bring it again. Fit it into a dream that teaches exactly what must open. Let the room soften at the edges. Walls blur to watercolor. Velvet dissolves into dusk. The next tide of REM is stirring, ready to lift you into corridors newly built. Spaces where keys find locks, where quiet questions bloom into gentle revelation. A soft current rises through the dark. It brushes the edges of your awareness, like moonlit water nudging a boat at anchor. Have you ever sensed, mid-dream, that the sky felt a shade too vivid, the ground too silent beneath your steps? That hush of recognition is the first door to lucidity. Deep in the prefrontal hills, those planners long at rest, a cluster of neurons stirs, whispering you back toward waking clarity. Without breaking the spell, scientists call it a hybrid state. EEG traces show REM's quick-eye flickers, married to faint beta ripples more typical of day. Just enough vigilance to ask a question, not enough to startle the dream to pieces. Feel that question rise now. You gaze at your palm. Skin glows silver, lines drift like rivers. And you wonder, is this real? The dorsolateral circuit flares, conducting its quiet experiment. You press a finger through the opposite hand. In waking life, flesh would resist. Here it yields like water. A thrill shivers up your spine. Gentle, expansive, free of fear. Lucid dreaming studies in 2025 used gentle transcranial currents to nudge gamma rhythms at 40 Hz. Participants reported twice as many moments of clarity, yet their heart rates stayed low, showing lucidity need not jolt the body. Notice how scenery waits for your choice. A hallway unfurls if you step. A garden blooms if you wish. But guidance must stay tender. Push too hard and the mosaic shatters, dropping you into wakefulness or the blank of dreamless dark. Why seek control at all? Therapists use lucidity to ease nightmares, inviting sleepers to soften monsters into mist. Artists explore it for quiet rehearsal, painting canvases in midnight studios, where pigment never runs dry. Others wander simply to taste wonder. Without ticket or timetable, you drift above a quiet city. Streetlights flicker like fireflies in ordered rows. Each rooftop invites you to land, but you choose a stillness instead. Hovering in the warm night air, prefrontal circuits glow brighter, yet limbic lanterns stay dim, balancing curiosity with calm. In this spacious awareness, you can plant a seed, a question, a hope. Neuroscientists call it prospective memory. Tell the dream, show me courage, and scenes may unfold that teach the body how bravery feels. Ask, where am I holding tension? And your shoulder might glow crimson, inviting release at dawn. But remember, the architecture is delicate. Speak softly, move slowly. Even intention is a breeze that can topple paper walls. A cloud drifts across the dream moon. Its shadow cools your skin. Sensation is woven from stored tactile echoes. Breezes on past balconies. Evening strolls along water. Somatosensory maps replay them, proving lucidity is not pure thought, but embodied remembering. Below, a clock tower lifts its face. Hands spin backward, then pause. Time kneels to your noticing. You let it be. Acceptance steadies the scene, anchoring lucidity with gentleness. Breathe once. Let the moon brighten. Let rooftops shimmer. Then release the need to steer. Control yields to trust, and the prefrontal glow dims again, folding lucidity back into the wider river of REM. You drift downward, settling on a quiet terrace lined with jasmine. Petals open to the night, scent curling into silver air. Awareness softens, but a quiet ember remains. A memory that you can wake within the dream, and still float, still rest. Let that ember glow. It will guide future nights, when shadows lengthen and you seek a lantern. For now, allow lucidity to fade like dawn mist, returning you to effortless wandering, where the architects build in silence, and the dream sails on, of its own gentle accord. A familiar corridor greets you. Soft light flickers on stone you know yet cannot name. Have you walked here before? The dream says yes, though waking memory offers only a half echo. Recurring places are the mind's quiet anchors, shores it builds again and again, to steady the tides of night. Deep in the hippocampus, engrams from earlier dreams lie stacked like thin shells. When emotion or circumstance rhymes with their rhythm, the stack warms and glows, calling up the blueprint of this corridor, this scent of old paper and rain. In late 2024, a Zurich team tracked sleepers for 40 nights. They found that scenes repeating 3 times or more carried stronger theta-gamma coupling than single-visit dreams, suggesting each return lays a thicker braid of memory. Feel that braid now. Footfalls sound softer than in other dreams, as if the floor too remembers your weight. On the left, a wood-framed window, always closed, always misted, shows a garden blurred by silver fog. Perhaps next time you will step outside. For tonight, the glass holds its secret, both invitation and promise. A figure approaches, face tenderly indistinct, like a portrait smudged by years of fingertips. Recurring people follow similar rules. Fusiform gyrus lights with recognition, yet prefrontal critics remain calm, letting identity hover between known and unknowns. The figure's presence soothes you. Maybe it is an echo of someone you loved, or a composite stitched from kindnesses, scattered across years. Dream science calls such visitors emotional placeholders, avatars allowing unfinished feelings to find form, without dragging waking names into the night. Notice how dialogue feels unnecessary. A glance conveys whole chapters. The amygdala's slow glow writes subtext directly into bone, saving words for later scenes. Along the ceiling, pale arches repeat, their curve matching the rhythm of your breaths. Repetition breeds safety. Safety lets deeper symbols rise. Why does the mind rebuild these chambers? One idea, schema rehearsal, says recurring settings are workshops, where the brain tests new memories against familiar scaffolding, watching what fits, what fractures. Another, attachment consolidation, argues the soul seeks reliable refuges. Night after night, when the world outside feels shifting and loud. Either way, the corridor serves you. Each return strengthens its walls, thickens its silence, teaches your pulse to slow the moment you arrive. Feel that slowing now. Heartbeats like distant oars on still water. Breath drifts through arches, stirs the window's fog, then settles. Your companion turns, gesturing toward a stairwell descending into soft shadow. The invitation is gentle, offering the next layer of the maze without demand. You hesitate, not from fear, but from the sweet weight of déjà vu. You know the stairs will twist in quiet spur. Rooms will bloom in unexpected angles. Yet the promise feels kind. Hold that kindness like a lantern. Let it light the first step. Stone sighs beneath your heel, and the corridor behind you dims. Content to wait for another night. Down you go, toward deeper architecture, toward halls where geometry forgets itself, and space folds like cloth around a dreaming mind. Stone gives way to air. The stairs that seemed solid a moment ago split into twin spirals, one rising, one falling, both curving through the same hollow shaft of dusk. Your foot hovers. Gravity waits for your decision, patient as a cat in sun. Dream corridors love impossible choices. They test the parietal maps that guide your waking steps, asking what if up and down were one gesture. Researchers at the University of Melbourne, early 2025, used immersive VR during REM to reveal that when vestibular cues clash, the posterior parietal lobe flickers in high-alpha bursts, suspending the sense of direction long enough for new pathways to sprout. Feel that suspension. Weight slips from ankles, fingers warm with the thrill of option. You choose neither spiral. Instead, you drift sideways, and the shaft unfurls into a gallery of doors, each inset at a different tilt. Some on walls, others on ceilings, one centered in the floor like a trapdoor to starlight. In waking life, the occipital cortex demands horizon lines. Here, its edges loosen. The lateral geniculate inputs soften, letting orientation cells play with rotated frames. The result is a peaceable vertigo, strange but soothing, as if the world were a mobile gently spinning above a cradle. Pick a door. Its knob glows faint jade. When you push, the wood bends like linen, parting to reveal a room exactly the size of a matchbox and simultaneously vast as a cathedral. Scale dissolves. Objects near the doorframe feel miniature. Far vaults echo with cathedral thunder. Neurologists term this size constancy drift. During REM, activity dips in linear perspective circuits of the dorsal stream, letting the ventral stream prioritize texture and color over metric space. Marble pillars shrink to finger width, then bloom to tree trunks with every breath. A cup on a distant altar gleams. Its surface mirrors your gaze, yet your reflection arrives before you lift your eyes, as though time itself took a shortcut. Temporal sequencing slackens here too. That same Melbourne study noted micro-delays between hippocampal timestamp cells and entorhinal path cells, creating ripples where before and after mingle. Your brain samples tomorrow and yesterday in one sweep, seeking the pattern that best calms the heart. You walk toward the altar. Floor tiles stretch like warm taffy, yet each step lands true. Cerebellar circuits track limb position, even while the cortex redefines distance. Practice for adapting, perhaps. Should waking life ever shift beneath your feet? On the altar rests a folded paper crane, thin as breath, white as first snow. Its wings bear tiny pencil lines. Impossible blueprints mapping rooms within rooms. Doors inside doors. A fractal of shelters spiraling inward forever. Touch the crane. Paper rustles like distant rain on rooftops. A longing fills your chest, not for answers, but for the elegance of layered possibility. The longing is coded in midline cingulate glow, a neural hue somewhere between curiosity and ache. Dreams let you feel it fully, without the tug of obligation. You understand, without words, that every impossible corridor is a rehearsal for uncertainty. If the mind can drift through walls that fold like cloth, it can wake and meet the day's shifting angles. With calmer eyes, the crane lifts, carries the room with it, pillars folding, arches tucking, until all returns to the hush of the spiraled shaft. Up and down still beckon, but you hover in the middle, weightless, heart slow, breath steady. Let the spirals dim. Let orientation fade to velvet gray. The architects have tested balance and wonder. They turn now to softer questions. How to color the next horizon. How to shape the breeze that will carry you there. Drift, held by nothing, lost in nothing, safe in the gentle arithmetic of impossible space. A shift in your center of gravity. For a breathless instant, the shaft dissolves, and you are weight in freefall. Nothing beneath, nothing above. Only the low hum of air rushing past skin that feels both cool and distant. Falling is one of sleep's oldest myths. Cave glyphs show stick figures plummeting beside antelope hunts, as though even our earliest nights rehearsed this same surrender. Why does the mind so often let go of ground? Mid-2024, studies from the Max Planck Institute tracked vestibular nuclei during REM. They found bursts of activity mirrored by downshifts in postural muscles, suggesting the brain soft tests disaster in a sandbox where bones cannot break. Feel the tug in your stomach. Hat half-electric thrill between dread and wonder. The amygdala sparks, but softly. Fear diluted, excitement sustained. Creating a rare emotion only dreams can brew. Then, without warning, drag lifts you. Arms extend like sails, and the plunge curves into glide. Shoulders lighten, ribs bloom wide. You are flying. The temporoparietal junction, where body maps meet outer space, flashes in gentle gamma as it recalibrates down. Below, clouds ripple like fields of pale wheat. Each gust uses remembered breezes. A seaside holiday, a car window open at dusk, stitched together into wind that tastes of salt and asphalt and new rain. A 2025 Osaka experiment used motion tracking blankets to watch sleepers mimic minor wing beats, finger twitches matching imagined lift. The cerebellum fired in patterns identical to glider pilots in simulators. Proof that dream flight is not mere fantasy, but covert training in balance and trust. Ahead, a shadow moves faster than you. It darts between cloud towers, always just at the corner of sight. The archetype of pursuit arrives. Chasing and being chased are scripts older than stories. Cortisol remains low, yet heart rate climbs. Ideal rehearsal stress. Neuroscientists at Uppsala recorded limbic loops in 2024. showing that dreamed escape primes waking vigilance. Without the cellular wear of real panic, the shadow sharpens, perhaps a silhouette of someone you once feared, or a beast that never lived. Notice how details blur. Only direction stays crisp, because the threat is symbolic, not anatomical. You bank left. The chase shifts into a dance. Predator and prey traded with every heartbeat. Feel the sudden empathy. You inside the hunter's gaze, then back behind your own eyes. Mirror neurons flaring like twin lanterns. Why this role switch? Some theorize the brain tests moral boundaries. Others that it simply balances circuits of dominance and submission. So neither rules the day. Whatever the reason, the exchange feels smooth, like turning a coin between finger and thumb. At last the wind calms. Shadow dissolves into mist. Heart settles, wings fold. You land on a plain of quiet grass, each blade luminous with afterglow. Braking thrust registers in calf muscles slack on the bed. EMG traces would show a brief uptick. Then stillness, proof that paralysis holds firm even as dreams practice motion. You stand, breath slow. Gravity returned, yet gentle. Behind ribs, the atlas of archetypes closes for now. Falling, flying, fleeing, chasing. Chapters reviewed, margins noted. Ahead lies a thin path lit by amber sparks. It curves toward scenes still unbuilt, where other ancient patterns wait their turn. Step softly. The ground will hold, but it may change shape under the next moonlit stride. The path of amber sparks widens. Each step feels less your own, more guided by a warmth that seems to rise from the ground itself. Have you wondered whether others walk this same road tonight? Feet touching the very places your mind now treads. Across centuries, storytellers spoke of shared dreaming. Tribes gathering at dawn to braid night visions into one long rope of meaning. Monks sleeping side by side to seek a single, luminous answer. Modern labs still chase that shimmer. In late 2024, a University of Toronto team linked pairs of sleepers by gentle fingertip electrodes. When one dreamer saw waves, the other's occipital field flickered in matching patterns within the same 30-second window. Coincidence, said some. A whisper of entanglement, said others. Tonight, the sparks beneath your soles pulse twice, as if answering the question. The air ahead ripples, and a second figure steps onto the path. Silhouette faint, edges trimmed in the same amber glow. You do not know their face, yet a tide of recognition rolls through your ribs. Soft as dusk wind in tall grass, the fusiform gyrus hums at half power, accepting the stranger without the need for detail. Side by side, you walk. Silence carries more weight than speech. Overhead, the sky adjusts its hue, shifting toward a color you have never named. But somehow both understand. In 2025, researchers at the Max Planck Dream Lab tracked social bonds inside REM. They found that when sleepers thought warmly of someone just before bed, the amygdala and medial prefrontal cortex synchronized during the night, creating dream scenes where companionship felt vivid, even when the companion was a hazy outline. Feel that synchronization now. Heartbeats drift into similar tempos. Breath matches breath. Two tides under one moon. The path tilts slightly upward. Lanterns bloom along its edge, each holding a memory not solely yours. A market stall laden with fruit you have never tasted. A lullaby in a language you do not speak. Snow falling on rooftops shaped unlike any city you recall. Shared symbols, perhaps, drawn from the deep well of collective mind Carl Jung once mapped. Or maybe neat. Neurons simply remix stray signals from bedside radios, turning distant voices into companions of night. Does the source matter when comfort flows so gently between you? The stranger lifts a hand. In their palm glows a small orb-bright seed. It pulses once, twice, then splits into twin sparks. One settles in your chest. The other returns to theirs. PET scans would show limbic warmth blooming along identical circuits, insular to ventral striatum, marking the simple joy of being witnessed, even in shadow. Ahead, the path branches into two silver threads. No worry stirs. You both understand the journey continues together. Those steps may drift apart for a while. A nod, a shared exhale, and the silhouette walks the left fork. Footfalls dimming into the hush. You take the right, carrying the soft ember still flickering behind your sternum. Somewhere, another heart keeps its twin beat, and the dream house records the resonance, like distant bells chiming the same hour in different towns. Clouds close over the sky, dimming amber to pearl. Alone again, yet not lonely. You feel corridors opening ahead, rooms that wait to show what minds can weave when they trust unseen threads. Breathe. Let the ember warm the next step. If dawn finds you thinking kindly of a stranger, perhaps you met here, on this path where many wander, each believing, just for a moment, that their dream was theirs alone. Dawn waits beyond closed curtains, but inside the dreamhouse night's last tide gathers strength. A hush, then a flutter of rapid eyes. The signal that REM has circled back. Brighter, longer, more intricate than before. You feel it as a widening inside the skull, like velvet drapes pulled from tall windows. Colors bloom without warning. Scents follow, warm as bread at sunrise. Why does the final cycle shine so vividly? EEG logs from a 2025 Soul study show cortical acetylcholine peaking just before waking, fueling one last surge of imagery, while norepinephrine still sleeps, keeping alarm at bay. Scenes layer themselves like tissue paper. A forest glows through a city street. Seawater runs beneath library aisles. Every room you have visited tonight slips one upon another until walls feel translucent. Worlds sharing the same breath. The architects work at dazzling speed, stitching threads from every prior scene. The silver key, the spiral shaft, the amberlit stranger, into a single quilt spread wide above the subconscious. Feel the seams tug in your chest, as though story itself were lacing rib to spine. The hippocampus fires high-frequency bursts, flinging bundled memories toward neocortical lofts. Each burst writes a faint signature you will skim tomorrow, as intuition, hunch, half-remembered spark. A low vibration hums underfoot. It is the glymphatic tide, cerebrospinal fluid rushing through neural streets, clearing yesterday's metabolites. Stanford imaging last winter revealed. This cleansing peaks in late-night REM, sweeping brain and dream together. In one luminous wash, you drift upward, observing from a quiet height. Below, dream figures move like lantern fish. Faces half known, gestures slowed to underwater grace. They do not see you, yet you feel their moods as soft pulses in your palms. Empathy circuits flare, insular to anterior cingulate, letting you cradle emotions not your own. Without drowning, practice for daylight kindness, learned here in weightless dark. A bell sounds once, deep and rounded. Perhaps it is the real world. A truck downshifting a neighbor's door, filtered through thalamic cloths, and rewoven as temple bronze. Sound and dream merge, and nothing breaks. The quilt of scenes begins to fold. Edges tuck inward. Forest dissolves into mist. Ocean recedes to whisper. What remains is the corridor you trust. Stone window, the smell of rain. At its far end, pale light seeps beneath a door. Not bright, not urgent, just enough to suggest morning exists. You walk toward it, unhurried. With each step, the heartbeat steadies. Breath finds waking rhythm. Behind you, rooms dim. Memorized, archived, forgiven. One question drifts across the hush. Will you recall these travels? Maybe a fragment, a crane of paper, the echo of shared footsteps will glint at breakfast like mica in sand. The rest will work unseen, guiding small choices, softening sharp hours. Hand on the doorknob now. It is cool, smooth, familiar, as though shaped by every exit you have ever taken. Hold it a moment longer. The architects are setting down their tools. Glymphatic tides ebb. Muscles wait for the first true signal to stir. Breathe once more. Feel the hush before the hinge turns. Light gathers at the edges, ready to slip inside. The knob turns. Light unfurls in a pale ribbon. Cool at first, then warm as morning milk. Your eyes remain closed, yet the scene brightens behind the lids. The way sunrise seeps through skin and bone. Before lids flutter pen, step across. No click of latch, no creak of hinge. Just a sigh as though the dream house itself is grateful you walked its halls. Air changes. It tastes of linen drying in sun, of distant rooftops warming under sparrows. Somewhere a kettle begins to murmur. Not loud, not near. A promise of waking comfort. Feel how weight returns to limbs. Paralysis loosens thread by thread. Yet softness lingers in every joint. A souvenir of floating. Inside the skull, acetylcholine eases. Norepinephrine rises. Like stage lights lifting house lamps for day. Neural curtains draw apart. Thalamic gates welcome sound. Smell. The faint brush of sheet against ankle. Let them enter slowly. The echo of corridors, keys, strangers, skies. Still rings in deeper chambers. Quiet music that will guide your pace long afternoon. If you wish, breathe a silent thank you to the tireless architects, astrocytes sweeping debris, neurons braiding memory, glymphatic rivers polishing thought. They labored while you drifted, and their work will carry you through daylight. Lighter, steadier, a little more tuned to wonder. Light grows. Behind curtains, birds trade low whistles, syncing their rhythms to your waking heart. You may open your eyes now, or rest another moment in the hush, letting dawn and dream overlap, like two gentle waves meeting on sand. Whatever you choose, know that every night holds this chamber, a place where falling becomes flight, where corridors remember your footsteps, where strangers share embers of kindness. Return whenever sleep calls. HypnoScience will be here, where science whispers you to rest. Breathe once more. Feel the world arrive. Soft, slow, bright.